Hello everybody, my name is Aceface. This is a video for the alpha clones, a video for more of the new players, but it's not complete new players, it's a bit of like a bit intermediate new player video. And this is how to do T3 Abyss very safely, very reliably, and pretty quickly as well. So this is what I think is one of the most reliable ISK making, or one of the most like reliable tiers of doing Abyss as an alpha clone. I think it's pretty difficult to do T4 as an alpha clone. It's definitely possible, but it's pretty difficult just because of the skill, like lack of skills you have there. But to do these T3 sites is very easy. So in this case, we're going to be using a Gila fit. Oh, what a surprise, the Gila. So this is a Gila fit that is going to be doing then the gamma sites. We're going to be doing the fierce gamma filaments, and there's a reason for this, because when it comes to the gamma sites, they have an increased amount of passive recharge of your shields. Here we see that we've got 136 HP per second, but we will have an increased amount of HP per second in the gamma sites. This is a bit of an issue because it also increases the amount of maximum HP as well of our shields. So when we are facing against heavy shielded enemy ships, they will take a little bit longer to get through, but the point is it's pretty safe for us. One thing to note as well, that this ship has possible upgrade paths as well. So this is like kind of, I would say, like the bare minimum, so to say, or like the base fit. But you can definitely improve it further. So for example, here we're using just Tech 1 rapid light missile launchers here, but you could also use Tech 2. You can get more DPS, do the sites faster. So you could use then the Tech 2 ammunition and it'll obviously be better. My character right here, Agro Bruto, he's trained only Alpha Clone skills, and he's got pretty crappy missile skills, so they can definitely improve on that regard. Also, when it comes to putting the rapid light missile launchers right here, you will have a bit of a power grid issue then. So what you do is you basically replace some of these Tech 2 large shield extenders with Caldari Navy ones. They have a little bit less power grid and CPU requirements. It's also something to note that those are really good because those Caldari Navy large shield extenders, if we even go here, these ones right here, they are a little bit costly, but they are definitely worth it because they also increase the amount of shields you get, so they are in fact more effective than these. The reason I just went with these Tech 2 ones is because they're cheap and they get the job done. And also, I know that this is going to be asked a lot, but this fit definitely can do the Marshall Wave. Don't worry about that. It's just a case of piloting. The Marshall Wave can kill you, but you just have to make sure you pilot it right. That's all it is. When it comes to the Marshall Waves, there's some things you have to understand, okay? They have a max range of 70 kilometers. So, or I think it's more precisely 72 or something like that. But when you go outside that maximum range, then they can't hit you. So that's all you do. Assign the drones on a Marshall, and then you go and get to work. Something to also know is that when it comes to the different Marshall rooms, so let's just assign our drones here. This is a dead easy way. We basically don't even have to think here. So when it comes to the Marshall rooms, there are different types of Marshals, you could say. So there's there's different prefixes to the Marshals. They could be Arrester Marshal, they could be Drainer Marshal, something like that. And when it comes to our fit right here, our highest resistance is the thermal resistance. You can see here. And that's why we do not want to take out the Drainer Marshals or the other kind of marshals first. The one marshal we want to take out first, that we want to assign our drones on directly, is the Arrester Marshal, the Disparo Troop, or just the Arrester Marshal is what they call. They have Arrester. The reason is because that marshal, he does explosive damage. So he'll essentially do the most amount of damage to you, because you can see here in the gamma site, we have reduced explosive resistance. So we've got a relatively low explosive resistance compared to our thermal, because the thing is, all the other marshals, they do thermal damage, predominantly thermal damage. They do a little bit of mixed damage type, but they do predominantly the thermal damage type. So that's why we'll leave the other marshals to later. First go for the Arrester Marshal, and then after all the Arrester Marshals are down, then you just take out the remaining marshals. And as soon as all the marshals are down, then it's basically it's just so easy. You can just AFK basically. But if you do approach them directly or get really close to them, then you will have issues. You will eventually die. I have in fact done that by just being stupid and just seeing if the tank works well. It didn't end well. And something also to know about this fit is that it does not require any capacitor whatsoever. So you can see here, we're neutered out. Does not matter. Does not matter at all. this you could do like this fit. I've shown this before. You can do T4s actually by just removing all the damage modules and the prop mod and just going full tank. But the thing is, there's certain benefits of doing the T3 sites here, because when you're an alpha clone, you relatively speaking have pretty low DPS, so you'll spend a lot of time just grinding through the NPCs, and you'll spend also a lot of time traveling if you do not use a propulsion module. So I think that the T3 sites are a lot more suited to alpha clones, because you'll finish the sites a lot faster, even though you don't get as much loot per site as the T4s, but you just finish them so much faster that and they're so much like safer as well. I feel like it's just a more relaxing experience, more suited for alpha clones, at least in my opinion. Okay, so probably here what I should have done was I was giving a little bit too much on those marshals, but one thing that I should have done here was primary the wardens, because they do webify, so they're gonna make me go slow. Also, just an annoying thing is that since our tank doesn't rely at all on capacitor, but still got an afterburner, so that's annoying. When you don't have an afterburner, it takes a little bit of time to go to the next room if you can't use your afterburner. You go really slow boy. This Gila is a very slow boy. Even if empty, just from using that little capacitor right there, you have to wait until it's got a little bit more capacitor than this, because it's like after 33% capacitor, then it goes down really, like the capacitor recharge rate declines really by a massive margin. Okay, here's an angel wave, no issue whatsoever. Just go and to lock up this elite Lucifer's Cinnabels, the ones you want to go for first. They do the most amount of damage, are also actually the most tanky, but they are definitely worth taking out because they do a lot of damage. As soon as we take out these two guys, there's basically going to be no DPS on the field, so you can just sleep after that. But just keep that in mind. These guys also do EM damage, so that's something to keep in mind. We don't have so good EM resistance, but it's all right. Just as soon as we kill these two guys, we'll have no problem whatsoever. So we just approach the bi-adaptive cache and just relax, just relax. You see here, we have most recharge when we go here, 33%. So just something to keep in mind is if you somehow go below 33 or 30 or somewhere, 25 to 33, I can't remember the exact number, but around that, here, 30, about 30%. If you go below this, start going below here, then you're in big trouble. Then there's something is going wrong. Because if your shields do go down and go into armor, then they're not coming back up. They are not coming back up. Unless you have like one frigate on the grid or something like that, they are not coming back up, because that's just the way it works. It's the same thing with capacitor as before. Remember how when we had a really low capacitor, then when it's very low, then the recharge, there's like a curve, you could say. So when it comes to capacitor, it's got like pretty crap recharge rate when it's at max, but then it's got the highest recharge rate, about 33 or 30%. But then when you go below 33 or 30% capacitor, then it'll again go down your recharge rate. So then the point is that when you've got basically no capacitor, it's hard to get it back up again. And that's the same thing that goes for shields as well, or the passive recharge of shields, not active tank like boosters, shield boosters. That's not how it works. But when it comes to like passive recharge rate, like we've got now without any modules, we need to recall our drones because we're taking a little bit of damage right here. Tip, if you want to have an easier time recalling your drones, go into shortcuts and just put a hotkey to return all drones to drone bay. I have Shift F. I think it works pretty well. Okay, so when it comes to the shields as well, it's the same thing. So we've got pretty crap recharge here because this is not even our max recharge rate. Then when we get to 33%, then this is where we have the most amount of recharge per second. So if something's able to get past 33% of our shields, then it's likely going to kill us, because after 33 or 30% recharge of shield, like a 33% of shields, then you'll get less and less recharge per second, and you'll just go down, 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 down. It's not hard to get back up from there, unless there's like just tiny little things on the grid that you just need to get through. Okay, there we go. And we got a little bit of cluster shutdown. Again, I keep getting, like, when I'm doing these abyssal runs, because I like to make these like guides or tutorials, just generally speaking, videos of EVE Online in the morning of my time zone. So it coincides not too rarely with downtime, in fact, just because I feel most fresh in the morning. Okay, there we go. It's so damn easy. Like, look at that. Just really, basically, hardly I have to think at all. The only wave you have to think about is that martial wave, as I said before. Also, Charybdis Tyrannos. That's just something to keep in mind. Charybdis Tyrannos wave can, like, do a lot of damage if you're unlucky. because they can do wrecking shots, and if they keep getting a lot of wrecking shots, then you could have a bad time. The key is just don't directly approach. Don't directly approach. Then you'll be good. Then you'll be good. You don't have to worry about it otherwise. Because as long as you so say the gate here is Charybdis Tyrannos, just don't approach directly. Approach like a little bit from the side, or if you're just trying to kill because what I usually do in the Charybdis Tyrannos wave is I go for the cruisers first, take out anything that is annoying, like for example Illuminators and Webifiers. Illuminators will make your signature radius bigger, make Charybdis Tyrannos have an easier time hitting you. And also I'll take out the Tanglers or the webifying cruisers, because they will make it so that Charybdis Tyrannos again has an easier time hitting you. So I'll probably take those guys out first, and while I'm taking them out, I'll like go a little bit like perpendicular like this, or just like side to side to keep my transversal velocity up, so it has a hard time Charybdis Tyrannos to hit me. You can think of the turrets of the Charybdis Tyrannos, they have to turn. So if I go to the side, they'll have to turn more. If I directly approach, then they'll have an easier time hitting me. So just keep that in mind. I mean, just don't underestimate Charybdis Tyrannos. But you should just be able to face tank Charybdis Tyrannos when you have destroyed all the... we can actually go for this extraction node over here too. But usually I don't go for these extraction nodes because they hardly have anything. But this one's... I think this one is on a pretty good trajectory. You just go a little bit to the side and then go towards the other ones. But when it comes to Charybdis Tyrannos, as soon as you've killed all the cruisers, then you should be able to face tank him. So you should be able to just directly approach even then. Your max recharge rate should have enough. I had at least no problems. And the thing is, when I tried it, I had actually killed Charybdis Tyrannos. So when I was approaching once head on, I had no problems with the tank. But Charybdis Tyrannos did not have a whole lot of lucky shots, so I don't know. Maybe just generally speaking, I try to avoid approaching Charybdis Tyrannos head on, but you shouldn't have any issues as long as the cruisers down, because they do quite a bit of damage to those cruisers, because there are quite a few of those cruisers. I would say about 40% of the damage in the Charybdis Tyrannos wave is in the cruisers, 60% in Charybdis Tyrannos itself. So that's just something to keep in mind. And the main thing, though, with the cruisers is that E-War enables Charybdis Tyrannos to do a lot of damage to you. Let's wreck this Vedmak right here. An interesting thing is that when you're doing these gamma sites, then they do actually have the Triglavian waves go a lot faster. Because the Triglavians, they have hardly any shields, so their shields anyway die almost straight away. And the Triglavians, they naturally speaking have a low explosive resistance. So when you reduce that resistance even more, then they die very quickly. As you can see here, we've got crappy DPS, 490 DPS, and we still managed to knock out that Vedmak with very relative ease right there. Another benefit of us using the gamma sites is because of obviously this whole thing I'm telling you about is pretty relaxing. You're not having to manage any modules or active boosters or anything. So that's a pretty cool thing. I do like the ability to overheat a booster though. It requires more skill, but this I would say is a pretty relaxing experience though. But the main thing that I would say is a benefit of the gamma filaments over the electrical filaments, because the electrical filaments, they are very popular. They give you a booster capacitor, so they enable you to have a very potent active tank on them. But the good thing is that when you have gamma filaments, they are actually cheaper. They're quite a bit cheaper. In fact, half the price of the electrical filaments. So even if you get crap loot from a site, it will still your net profit will be a tiny bit more. But then again, people could argue that it's easier to have higher DPS fits with electrical sites, so because they're able to have an easier time getting a good tank. So they'll have more DPS, but still, even then, it's especially as an alpha clone. But even then, it's still a bit hard to, without bling. Now, this is a key point: without bling in an electrical site to get a good tank on an alpha clone. I mean, you can get a good tank, but I can see it seems a lot easier with a cheap fit to get a better tank on a Gila in a gamma site with. When I compared doing an electrical site as an alpha clone. It's easier to get a better tank on a Gila, passive Gila in a gamma site with an alpha clone skills, especially when it comes to little bling. If you have a lot of bling, then obviously the active tank will be better. But when it comes to having a cheap fit, I feel like the gamma sites are a lot easier in that regard. So there we go. We did a little bit of a T3 gamma right here. How was the loot here? crap loot. This is really crap loot, 4.5 million. But one thing to keep in mind though is that we did get this entropic radiation heatsink blueprint right here, and this is worth about like 8-9 million. Overall, this is not a good run. I have got better runs from this. In fact, I have actually got a one of the main sources of income you get from these sites is the filaments, because the filaments, since we're doing the gamma sites, as I told you before, you're doing gamma sites and you're getting a pretty like the filaments you use, they're relatively cheap. So if I go here now, this can depend from time to time when you're looking at this video, but if we go into fierce gamma right here, 3 million for the filament. So that was actually really bad right here. What is that? 1 million from the whole site. But then we also got this, you know, this radiation sink right here that is worth 8-9 million. But when say we were doing, for example, an electrical site, oof, that do you see that? Double the amount. Like that was crap. If we got this loot with an electrical site, we would have basically done no profit right here. The thing is, when you are doing the gamma site, it's like one of the cheaper filaments. So then if you were to get a fierce electrical filament as the loot, you could obviously sell this. You wouldn't, because if I were to do electrical sites, I got this as a loot, I'll just use this to run another site or save it for next time. But here you can sell this, so that's also a good thing. You get to use these like a good tier or expensive tier filaments, and you can sell them for a bit more. You can sell them then and not have to use them again. So you would rely on the cheap ones. Another alternative could be to use these Firestorm dark filaments. They're a little bit more difficult to run. They're a little bit definitely more difficult to run than the gamma ones, but they are a possibility. They are a possibility. But I think that the gamma ones are a good balance. Pretty easy and also pretty cheap as well. So then you can also get some higher tier filaments, and that's something I get quite often. In fact, this time I was just unlucky, I feel like. But you can see here, we get a Raging Electric. We get really good, look at some good disc right here. We can get a Raging Exotic right here. We can get, you know, we can get some good disc. So that's why I would say I've done quite a few runs of these. I think I've done I've done too many to count runs in this fit right here. But the most majority of my ISK, it was from the filaments, the 0-point condensate and the crystalline ice gen, all that kind of stuff. It wasn't that good. But you can get it's just all about this luck. They're all about the RNG. You know, you can get, sometimes I got 40 million from one site. Sometimes, as you can see now, I got crap loot like I have now. So it's just a bit of a variance. But this is either way an alpha clone. Definitely there's more stuff you can do if you go to Omega. Definitely would recommend a higher tier if you are going for Omega. And I'll show you guys in due time how to do that. And many of the videos I have on my channel show how to do that. I'll be posting even more in the future. So hope you guys enjoyed this video right here. There we go, Alpha Clone T3 Abyss, super easy, super simple, that can kill marshals obviously. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. I'll catch you guys later.